Top 5 tarot decks I used in 2024. These are not necessarily my favorites, but they're the ones I use the most often. I keep track of every deck I use for every reading I do, and then I tally it up at the end of the year. Coming in at number 5 is Tarot of the Crystal World. This is an indie deck, and it's really cool. I'm really glad I bought it. These are the backs. I find the art to be really quite weird and wonderful. And the cardstock is linen, so it's really easy to use. I really like that. Standard card size. Some really interesting takes on some of the cards, primarily just straight up RWS imagery, and really, really beautiful colors and fun to use. That is Tarot of the Crystal World at number 5. I have a tie for the 4th most used deck of 2024, and that is between the 5th Spirit and the Erenberg. The 5th Spirit is one of my favorite decks in my entire collection. Here's the backs. I love the diversity in this deck. I love the modern take. I really, really like the pips. They're sort of pip-ish, I would say. They're not like a straight up Marseille pip. They've got some feeling to them. You can see the story being told in these pips. The cardstock is fine. It's that real cardboardy stuff that I don't really love. Standard size, just a really, really beautiful deck, and I love to read with it. I would take this out and read for anyone with this deck. I think it's got great representation, really beautiful interpretation of the standard RWS meanings. So if you read Rider-Waite-Smith, this deck will make a lot of sense to you. That's the 5th Spirit. And then the other one that's in a tie for 4th is the Erenberg Tarot. Both of these are mass market, both have great guidebooks. The interesting thing about the Erenberg is how close up the images are. You'll see they're the typical RWS images, but they're just a tiny little piece of that image. They really focus on just a section of the picture or on something that really shows the basic meaning of it. One thing I wish this deck had was more diversity. Really not representative of the people I see in my everyday life. It's mostly just white folks. I wonder if it was just sort of taking a nod towards the original RWS, trying to use similar figures, but I don't think that was necessary because this is a reinterpretation anyway. But it's a pretty cool deck, nice cardstock. I like that kind of thinner, more flexible cardstock, so it's a great deck. The 3rd most used deck of 2024 is the Centennial in a tin. So I will say this is not my favorite deck, but this is not a video about my favorite decks. This is about my most used. I use this a lot because it's small. I keep it at my desk, so I can do readings with it anytime. And because it's in a tin, I can take it with me. It's safe. I've taken this all over the place, and the cards are still in great shape because I can just throw it in my purse, throw it in my backpack. I don't know what else there is to say. It's a useful deck, and so that's why it's in position number 3. My 2nd most used deck of 2024 is the Dreaming Way. I love this deck. I reach for it a lot, as you can see, since it's in number 2 position. I would take this out and about too. It's a mass market deck. I would say it's pretty traditional RWS meanings. I love the art. It's just totally reinterpreted, beautiful colors, really interesting figures. I really enjoy using it. The standard size, the cardstock's a little stiff, but still pretty easy to shuffle, easy to riffle shuffle, and really beautiful and really fun to use. And my most used tarot deck of 2024 is the Pulp Tarot. I love this deck. I'm so glad I got it. This is an indie deck, but it's really at a mass market price, so very accessible. Because it's an indie deck, be really careful that you're buying it from the creator's Etsy shop, because all these indie decks have tons of counterfeit decks out there, and you really want to support the artist. Comes with a little guidebook, which is straightforward. It's fine. Nothing too groundbreaking in the guidebook, but it's the art that this really just shines. So these are based on the traditional RWS meanings, but they're reinterpreted using the style of like pulp novels of the past. And it's so fun to read with, and I just have a great time using it. And so obviously that's why it's number 1. It's a really cool deck, And with such an accessible price, I would really recommend this to anybody. Standard size, great cardstock. It's that kind of thinner, easier to shuffle cardstock, which I really like. I know not everybody likes that, but it is my preference to have that, that type of cardstock. Anyway, Pulp Tarot, fantastic, fantastic deck. And those are my top 5 tarot decks I used in 2024. Let me know if you have questions about these. I'd be happy to show off more cards. I'd be happy to talk about tarot all day long.